Conversations with Niki is brought to you by studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets. Welcome to Conversations with Niki. I'm Niki Seberini, and it is always a pleasure and a delight to spend time with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to welcome our syndication partner listeners. That's Eldo's FM, Chai FM, Kawi FM, West Coast FM, 90.3 MC, that's in Plet, Neisner FM, Wild Coast FM, and Bay FM. Hope that you do enjoy the show. And also thanking you for the emails that keep coming in. And just to say that the giveaway is continuing, and the giveaway is courtesy of Tablet World, and I'm giving away a tablet, and it is a Colpad 2 7-inch Wi-Fi. And well, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to love it. And if you're wondering to yourself how you can get your hands on this Colpad 2, it's very simple. All you need to do is go onto my Facebook page and press like, and then you can stand in line to win it. There will be a draw, and I will be announcing the winner of that. And that, as I said, courtesy of Tablet World, your one-stop Android tablet solutions company for individuals, students, and colleges. And of course, all the shows are podcast and put onto the website, the Conversations with Niki website. It's www.conversationswithniki, Niki spelled NIKI.co.za. All the podcasts are there, and you can communicate with me via the website as well. It's quite strange that we're doing this show, because as I was driving here, I heard on the news about a drug bust happening just around the corner, and something like 75 million rands worth of drugs being picked up. I think it was cocaine and heroin and tick, and quite frightening when you think that in one area 75 million rands worth of drugs picked up, and then you just expand that and just try and imagine what's happening in the rest of South Africa and the kind of impact that this is having on our citizens. Now, Dr. David Behever from the Government Drug Control Organization, known as the CDA, is quoted as saying, "The drug problem in South Africa remains very serious, with drug usage being twice the world norm in most cases, and we're only dealing with what we know about. This is only the tip of the iceberg." And he says that at least 15% of South Africans have a drug problem. 15%. This number, however, is expected to rise. While some drugs are produced directly in South Africa, it's also a major transshipment hub for importing and exporting them. So while you may be tired of the subject of drugs, and I may be tired, the users and the drug sellers are not. And it is expanding, and it is your children and it is my children who are at risk. And really the future of this country that is at risk, and that's why it is so very important to be doing a show on drug abuse and looking at how communities are coming together to try and get a hold on what is really an uncontrollable situation at the moment. So I have two very, very special people who've come into the studio today to share their stories, to share their experiences and their insights. And hopefully you will be able to take their experiences and their insights and perhaps use it in your life, perhaps use it in your community. So I would like to, first of all, I'd like to welcome Cheryl Pillay, and Cheryl is the chairperson of the Eldorado Park Local Drug Action Committee, and also the founder of the Comeback Mission, which is a women's rehabilitation and skills development. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Niki. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Wayne Fearick, who is the founder of Pillay, Giving Back, and an executive member of the Eldorado Park Local Drug Action Committee. It's great to have you both in the studio. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Niki. Thanks for having us.
So, Wayne, I'm going to start off with you, because
yes.
I know that you have a business,
yes.
You have a wife,
yes.
You have children. I'm just trying to explain that you have this life that most people have, or a lot of people have, and yet you have another life as well,
yes.
And that is dedicating a lot of your time and your energy and your resources
yes.
to helping drug-addicted children. Perhaps you can just expand on that.
Yes, I think it's. I need to give you history on what happened. I was running a very successful business, construction business, Pillay Construction Services.
Mm-hmm.
This was about 3-4 years ago. I decided that because I was doing well in the business, that I should start like a community service and give back to Eldorado Park, which is my community.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at what I should do, and I thought there's a very impoverished section in Eldorado Park. They name it Kersidorp. It comes from Candle Town.
Mm-hmm.
It means there's no electricity and stuff. So,
right.
and it's one of the most impoverished sections. And I decided to start a feeding scheme there and feed the children, because my passion is children. We also decided that just giving the money is not good enough. We need to buy the stuff, cook the meals, and feed the children ourselves, and that will be our community service. I started the feeding scheme, and we started off with about 100 children,
Mm-hmm.
which quickly grew to 200, which quickly grew to 300 children.
Gee whiz.
In about
A much greater
month,
need than
yes.
you thought. Okay.
In about a month, we were sitting with about 300 children that we were feeding. Where it went to is that I started talking to these children and started finding out who they are and what their home circumstances is and stuff. And the stories that came out of it was heartbreaking. What I did then is I started posting. I started opening a blog. It's called Pillay Giving Back. It's a blog. And I started a section in there called Our Stories, where I would actually listen to these children and put their stories and to interpret their stories on the blog.
Mm.
And then something happened that made me open my eyes. One of my girls, she was about 13 years old, she went missing. Nobody knew where she was. When I came to the feeding scheme, it was one of my favorites. I always looked out for her, and I asked where she is, and nobody knew where she was. So I started making inquiries, and I found out that she was last seen in this, what they call a lolly lounge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a
What
brothel.
is it? A brothel?
It's a brothel. What they do is they recruit young children, and they use these young children as prostitutes in these houses.
So hang on, what do you mean by they recruit young children? How are they recruiting these young children?
What they would do is they will lure them in.
Mm-hmm.
They will lure them in with cell phones,
Mm-hmm.
with giving them clothes, with giving them money to spend and stuff like that, and show these children that they can earn much more money than what is being given to them. And then what they would do is they would prostitute these children in the lolly lounges. But
What ages? Sorry, I keep interrupting you. What kind of ages are we looking at here?
You won't believe this, Niki. It starts off from about 8 years, 9. Our youngest addict that we found is 8 years old.
I find that so hard to believe. 8 years old.
Old.
In a lolly lounge.
In a lolly lounge. The girls start off from about 11, 12 onwards. Okay. What they do is they have these children in these lolly lounges, but they use these children as like to get people to come and buy drugs in these lolly lounges. So big men will come into these lolly lounges and they would prostitute these young children and they would sell them drugs as well. So these lolly lounges are basically brothels that's being and
a place to sell drugs.
And a place to sell.
So these children that are lured in,
Yes.
are they then put onto drugs as well?
They are put onto drugs.
So
as well.
they become addicted to drugs.
They-
So they're almost working for the drugs.
Yes,
Okay.
that is exactly what's happening.
And where did they come from? I mean, are these kids from impoverished backgrounds? Where are their families? Where are their mothers and fathers?
It's most of the children that it is impoverished backgrounds, where these children don't have money, they don't have clothes, they don't have a cell phone, they don't have all the niceties that their school friends have. So they are being lured into these lolly lounges by particular people, these drug dealers. These guys are professional salespeople. I mean, what they do with these children is they show them the good life. They show them you can have this, you can have that, you can just come and live here. It won't be like your house. You will have meals, you will have this, you can have that.
Which is very attractive.
Which is very attractive
to a
them.
child who has nothing.
And then what they do is they start on giving them drugs to use and say it'll make you feel better, it'll give you a buzz and stuff like that. and they get these children hooked on drugs. Within a month or so, these children are drug addicts.
So Wayne, is this what you never knew this before? When this 13-year-old girl went missing and you went looking for her, all of a sudden this world opened up to you. Did you not know about it before?
Never knew about it before.
Living in El Dorado Park.
Living in El Dorado Park, I was totally oblivious to it because my life was not. My eyes was not on what is happening in the community itself. It, as anybody else, it was having fun, having friends, going out and stuff like that. And I was totally oblivious to what was happening, really happening. I had friends, drug dealing friends, and I knew they were drug dealers, but I never passed judgment on them. And I never, as long as my children and my family and people that I'm close to is not affected, I turned a blind eye, and I just didn't worry with what was happening in the community and stuff.
So the turning point was
the turning point was going into that Lolly Lounge, finding that little girl in a corner by herself, all drugged up, naked, and that is what turned everything in my life around. I picked her up, took her out, and she was shaking. You
weren't stopped from doing that?
I was stopped, but in El Dorado Park, a lot of people know me. And the person that was in charge of this Lolly Lounge knew me. And he knew I was one of the community people. And I have a lot of friends in the police force and stuff like that. So he basically didn't stop me. He tried to, but he didn't stop me. And I took the child out and I took her back to her home. Asked the mother what was happening and stuff, and the mother said she doesn't know.
How long had she been missing for?
She went missing the Thursday. I went in the house the next Tuesday. So she was missing for 5 days.
Had the parents reported her as missing?
Yes, the parents reported her. The mother reported her missing at the police station and everything. Okay. I went, opened a case against these guys that I found there. Found out nothing happened to them like a week after that. And then I started seeing what the real situation is concerning victims, drug dealers, the police force, and what the community was going through.
As you scratched beneath the surface, you saw.
Because then I followed up on what was happening and stuff, and all these stories came back to me.
Right.
And everybody came to me, and whoever I asked questions to told me what was happening in the streets, what was happening in the homes, what was happening in the community, in the areas and stuff like that. And that basically brought up the passion in
trying to do something
in the community.
Well, I mean, just listening to this story about a young girl going missing, and that you could find her, and that she had been missing for a few days, and the police hadn't even found her. It says a lot. It says a lot, Wayne. And I can only just imagine that for you, I mean, having shared what you have about yourself, that this was a huge turning point. Did you have support from your wife and from family and friends? Because I can imagine that sometimes it's a very lonely road to travel.
Yes, my wife supported me. She's passionate, far more passionate than me about what is happening.
Okay.
She supported me through everything. But then I found a wonderful woman, the woman sitting next to me. Her name is Cheryl Pillay. Cheryl is the one that educated me more about what was happening in the community. That really gave me the breakdown of what was actually happening, why the police was not doing anything about these drug dealers, how the drug dealers were operating, what's becoming to the young children of our community, what's becoming to the girls, what are they being turned into. She really opened my eyes, and that is where it all started. And this was about 1.5 years ago.
That's pretty recent. So Cheryl, I'm going to bring you in right now, because this is Wayne's story, and then you're going to, you join, and I can only imagine that you've done fantastic things. But also, Cheryl, you're married.
Yes.
You have children as well. So how did you become aware of the problems, the drug problems, and what was happening to your youth?
I've always been involved in community development. I was actually a community developer for Red Cross, working in community and in church.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had this passion
Right.
for the people in the community. Also, my husband has a business, and I just left him, dumped him, and decided to carry on and do what I need to do. And so 7 years ago, we started Comeback Mission. Just a group of people that saw there was something going on in the community, and there's not much being done. And we want to just have like a little counseling center where people could come to, because there wasn't at that time really many services around. And we started it from a garage. Just someone in the community offered us the little garage, and we painted. We were very excited. Opened it up on the 1st of April 2007. And from there things just continued to go.
Just for women?
No, first it was for the community itself, male and female. And as the guys came in and they wanted to be placed in rehabilitation centers, we realized that there wasn't many resources available. But it was okay. We could place the guys. There was always 1 or 2 rehabs that would take the guys in, and they'd come back and work in the program. And then we realized if we had women come in there really wasn't any place. And the amount of women that was coming into the program was growing every day. And if you look at the difference between male and female when they're on substance, males go out, they rob, steal, hijack, all that kind of thing. It's external things. With females, like Wayne rightfully said, it becomes internal. It's internalized because they use the one thing that they have, it's their bodies. And so the damage is bigger, and there was just no places we could send the girls to unless their parents could afford anything between 25,000 up to 120,000 for rehabilitation for 28 days. And then they come back into the program, and most of these girls do not have any support, financial support.
Right.
And Eldorado Park per se, and most of the communities, even other communities, when girls reach that age, there's no financial backing, and parents have tried everything. And then we decided to hunt down a place where we could place these girls, and we had the dream of starting a farm. And I just had this vision of a farm and could see these girls. And we started looking around, and we ended up in the Mayerton area. And ironically, the farm that we purchased was used by a cartel to manufacture drugs before. And Carte Blanche had scooped on this farm like a year or 2 before, and the bank had repossessed the farm. And we put in an offer to purchase. No money
talk about
to do that.
turning things around.
And we just in faith took that step, that leap, and we put in an offer to purchase. And today the Hadassah Center for Women is standing there, where we have 20 women at a time coming in. They stay there for 6 months. So the first thing we don't ask is, how much can you pay? We say, do you need help? They say yes, and off you go. And later on we do whatever needs to be done. And so the first 2 months is to be rehabilitated. The next 4 months after that is to do skills, life skills, training, programs, getting them up. We just had 2 girls go to university. One was doing community development. She actually completed a matric while she was there.
Fantastic.
She's going into the graduate program for social work next year. We've got companies that comes on board that assist us to place the girls. We've just opened up a new computer center there. We have a nail and beauty
Giving
center.
them the most wonderful
baking.
chance.
But the beautiful thing, it's called Hadassah Center for Women, and Hadassah is like Esther in the Bible, coming in as an orphan, and you go out as a queen. So when we do the graduation, we actually restore that dignity, and you see the inner beauty coming. And many girls come from exactly the background that Wayne was talking about. Some of them, Lollipop Lounges, doing whatever they needed to do to feed their habit. Some is mothers that left their children behind. And so the stories that comes out of there, we can fill this room with all those boxes. But at the end of the day, it's the end product that comes out of there.
So how do they get to you? If they are in Lolly Lounges, if they are in these places, where does that help come from?
Well,
that hand to pull them out from that very dark place?
The community knows. We work with guys and girls because we have a community-based kind of program, and that's our entry point.
Right.
But people from all over. We had girls coming from Kempton Park. It doesn't matter the race, religion, or whatever. They all come in, and people contact, or it's, oh, my daughter was there, or I have this problem. I heard about the center. So it's always, I got your number from someone or something. Unfortunately, we can't take more than 20 girls. We are hoping now to purchase the farm next door to be able to take more girls, because we have a waiting list for girls to come in.
I'm sure you do.
And the process, we don't want to cut it short and let them out earlier. So the 6 months kind of have shown us that that is what is required. There's some girls, 2 weeks ago we had a graduation for the 6 months that was completed. 4 had to graduate, but 2 have actually asked to stay until January because they don't want to be out over the festive season. You know, there's that, they don't have secured places. One girl escaped out of a lolly lounge, and someone said go there, so it was like undercover to get her away. So there's a lot of stories that comes out of there, but it's just amazing how this transformation takes place in their lives, how they go out. Like we've got another program that's attached, it's called Addicted for Change, and the My Life program, which is run by recovering addicts from the program, and they do now a program called Youth at Risk, 1,000 Youth at Risk campaign that we're busy with in the community. And it's run by recovering addicts, giving their stories, giving their input, going into that high-risk areas and saying to the kids, it's not cool to do drugs. I've been hijacking. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Let's turn this whole cycle around. So the process is exciting, actually.
Well, I mean, you and I think it's fantastic, the work that you're doing. I want to go to where it all starts. I want to go to, why it's happening, and is it possible, or is it just a dream to nip it, as they say, in the bud? Is it possible? I mean, can you go right down to that point and prevent it from even happening? I mean, you talk about people going into schools, and how do you do something like that? If you come from an impoverished background, if you come from a background where maybe you don't have a mother and a father, maybe there's abuse in the family, how do you turn a situation like that around?
Look, it's not that easy. Obviously, because of the community dynamics. And if you look at Eldorado Park, I would say over 60% is single mom homes, single parent homes. So that already, guys are looking for heroes. And who is the heroes?
Yeah.
The men in the community. Not,
the cool drug dealer who drives
they're
the
the ones
car,
that's driving cars. You know, it's flashy. Also taking our education system, and that's why I say grade 6 and grade 7 we need to start, because really, if a child had a slight learning disability or anything and is not coping at school, and he doesn't have coping mechanisms in place, by the time when he goes to high school, he needs to cope on his own, and already he's lacking behind, so he goes to the back of the class, and eventually he's out of the door. They're the first ones to start experimenting. Looking at the cycle that we're going in, if you look at mothers that's pregnant, or breastfeeding babies. We talk about alcohol fetal syndrome. You're talking about a chemical syndrome here. Those kids already are born at a disadvantage. So by the time when they go to school, they are going to lag behind academically in the school. So they're the same kids that's going to fall back into the cycle. I work in one community. It's called Heavenly Valley, where we've never had a matriculant for the past 23 years. Now we started the Women's Empowerment Program. We've now had 2 girls matriculate. But that cycle continues, that at the age of 16 you have your first baby, at the age of 19 your second baby, and you continue in the cycle. So it's to break all of those cycles.
Break the cycle.
Empowering the mothers. We started up a preschool, so that we started at preschool level, where the mindset is changed, where there's stimulation done, which is maybe normal in some communities, and it just doesn't happen there. So the education and awareness and prevention and lifestyle change needs to start at that age. So we look at going into the primary schools and doing awareness campaigns, bringing mentors in to positively mentor those kids that don't have positive role models, in saying there's alternates, using the recovering addicts and giving their stories and say this is how bad it was. So consistently just bringing that. Also creating employment, skills, all of that. So it's not just one facet, but remember that the substance abuse at the moment is affecting all the different issues, because the abuse is coming from there. HIV and AIDS is coming from there. Teenage pregnancy is coming from there. All of that kind of things basically stemming out our crime in our communities. 99% is drug related. It's petty crimes, all of those kind of things. So it's critical that we look at a strategy that's holistic to bring the change in the community.
So when you decided a year and a half ago, when you met Cheryl and you decided that this is, you were going to dedicate a lot of your time to this. I mean, just listening to Cheryl, it's overwhelming. I mean, this is a huge problem, especially when you talk about the cycle and just looking at the cycle and going, okay, where do we stop it? Where do we get people to get off this merry-go-round? Did you have moments of feeling quite helpless and thinking, gee whiz, there's not much I can do?
Okay, in the beginning, no, because the passion was there.
Right.
I met some wonderful people in the community that's making a difference. I just had to find a role for myself with those people, and what it basically boiled down to is we came up with an action plan. We sat down and we said, how are we going to bring? First, we need awareness. We need to start an awareness campaign. We need to let everybody know what is happening not only in our community, in all the communities. David from CDA is a very good friend of ours.
Okay.
But his statistics on 15%, it is not 15%, Niki. I can sit here and tell you now that if it's not...
Is that a mild assumption?
That
or
is a very mild assumption of addicted people in South Africa. Yes. I would go as high as 40%.
Really?
Of
40%.
Let me just tell you that.
And I thought 15% was a lot.
Nope. Okay. It's the other percentage that is not brought out. That is not. We've never found
maybe reported.
Them.
It's not reported.
It's not reported. He's just talking about these children that's been through the system, that's been to police stations, that we know about, that we've got stats on. But doing community work, I mean, El Dorado Park is much higher than that, than the 40%. All our townships, Westbury, Noordgesig, all those townships, Annandale, all those townships have got a rate above 60% of drug addicts in those communities. And we did it by...
Sure.
Well, we decided we needed to come up with a plan. We cannot face or fight this we call it a war, without a plan, without structure, without knowing what we're doing and stuff. Cheryl and our cleric, our councillor Peter Rafferty, and a group of people, we started the local drug action committee, which is the legislative body from the Central Drug Authority. It is the body that drives the whole master drug plan that the government has got. Now, to do it properly, we needed to establish this body in the community. It's made out of all the stakeholders in the community, all the MPOs, all the NGOs, all the businesses, all the faith-based organizations, is represented in this body. And what we did is we said to government, even SAPS, even the South African Police Services, we said to government, here we are established. We've registered with CDA as a LDAC, and we are now going to be responsible for the plan, the mini drug master plan that we want to roll out in El Dorado Park.
So what I want to stress here is that this is something that you're doing in El Dorado Park. And this is something, and I'm hoping that people are going to be listening perhaps in other communities where they don't have these kind of structures in place, where perhaps after a show like this, this is something that they can consider. And that's why I think it's very important. I'm going to take a quick break, but just to explain it again, how it's linked to government, and how through having organizations like this, you can have teeth, so to speak, to start making a difference in the community, because all communities within South Africa obviously need to be doing this. So let's just take a quick break, and let's get right back and talk about the local drug action committee in Eldorado Park.
Hi, my name is S.V. Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Bridwin Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Welcome back. This is Conversations with Niki, and I'm Niki Seberini, and I'm very, very pleased to be with you. The discussion that we're having today it's a serious discussion, and when we're talking about statistics of 40% of people in South Africa being addicted to drugs, and you look at what a problem it is, and one of our guests, Cheryl, just saying how drugs impacts and it's crime, and it's HIV, and it's abuse, which happens because of the drug problem. We have to sit up and we have to take notice. And so I have two people in the studio who are going to be in a minute telling us more about what they're doing in Eldorado Park, and we're hoping that wherever you are, if you feel that the situation is out of control, perhaps giving you guidelines and steps on what you can do to turn the situation around. I would at this point like to just welcome our syndication partner listeners, and that is Eldo's FM, Chai FM, Kawi FM, West Coast FM, 90.3 MC in Plet, Neisner FM, Wild Coast, and Bay FM. And just a reminder to visit our website, www.conversationswithniki, Niki spelled Niki, and it is one word, .co.za, and all the podcasts are there. And also, if you'd like to win a tablet, a Colpad 2, it's a 7-inch Wi-Fi, and it's great to have a tablet. Everyone's using tablets these days, and I'm giving you one. All I want you to do is go along to my Facebook page, and that's Niki Seberini Talk Show Host, and like it, and then I'm going to be putting all the names together, and we're going to have a draw. But I'd like to just introduce our guests who are in the studio, who are bringing so much expertise and stories, and hopefully a light for you if this is a problem for you. So I'd like to just welcome Cheryl Pillay, who is the chairperson of the Eldorado Park Local Drug Action Committee and also the founder of the Comeback Mission. And I have Wayne Fearick in the studio as well, who is the founder of Pillay Giving Back and an executive member of the Eldorado Park Local Drug Action Committee. So Wayne, just before the break, you were talking about putting together this committee and getting all the stakeholders within the community to come on board, and also partnering with government and doing this so that you could legitimately do things to try and fight this problem that you're having with drugs, that we're having in South Africa. Perhaps you can expand on that.
I just want Cheryl to explain to us the structure of the local drug action committee.
Okay. You spoke about the Central Drug Agency.
Mm-hmm.
So in our country, we have a National Drug Master Plan. Right now, we're working on the 2013 to 2017, so it's a 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Central Drug Agency is actually the monitoring body of the National Drug Master Plan. But to be able to implement it to the ground, closer to the people, you have your national office, which is the Central Drug, then you have regional,
Mm-hmm.
and then every community is supposed to have a local drug action committee.
Okay.
So that's where the establishment of the local drug action committee comes in, and it's a legislated body by the government. On that local drug action committee, you need to have all your stakeholders that operates within the community, the South African Police Services, your faith-based organizations, comes together, and they look at a strategy plan on what the substance abuse issues is within that community, because every community is different,
Right.
and operates differently. So we last year in June had our local drug action committee established, and we started doing our awareness campaigns through that. We've also had in February, I think you'll see, if you remember in February in the Citizen, there was like 10 or 12 big drug dealers that was busted in our communities. We then raised awareness of it, went to court, asking for no bail, all of that kind of thing. So that all stems out of your local drug action committee, looking at strategies.
And before a year and a half ago, there was nothing.
No, that did not exist.
Okay. So
Look,
this
the
is
National Drug Master Plan was there,
yes,
but there was no vehicles to implement it within the community.
So communities have to get together and do something.
Because there's four pillars within your National Drug Master Plan.
Right.
The first one is your harm reduction. Your harm reduction is basically all your treatment centers, your community-based counseling centers, places where people can go to that has already used substance, and now to get the harm of the damage of whatever substance is down. There's social workers involved, so your social development, your City of Johannesburg needs to be part of it. Then you have your supply reduction. The supply reduction is basically based on how do we stop the drugs being in our community being freely available. So we need to look at, and one of the main factors to that is your SAPs. How are we going to do raids? What is going to happen? The awareness, a line, a SMS line that we created. If you know X is selling drugs and you are afraid of bringing them out, is to SMS that address, the number, the name to someone.
Is that?
It worked effectively.
Is it?
Yes, it does. And you need to have that partnership with SAPs on board, obviously, and monitor and saying, did you follow up, that. So that's your supply reduction. The third one is demand reduction, which is awareness and preventative programs. So that's your support groups for parents. That's going into the schools, doing awareness campaigns, doing preventative campaigns, talking to the kids. So that's part of your awareness and preventative, which is the demand. We call it, that's in your master plan, it will say demand. And then the fourth one is research and development, because there's constantly new drugs coming up. Also, every community has its own set. Like if you talk in Cape Town, you talk Tuk. If you go into Soweto or some of the other areas, they'll say Nyaupe. If you go into whatever area and what the mixtures is that is involved. So you need to have people on the ground that monitors what drugs is available, and that forms part of your local drug action committee, coming together, strategizing holiday programs for the children, Arts in the Park campaign. So we need to always come up with a new strategy to keep children off the street, to look at vulnerable. We also, with our supply and demand reduction, the awareness of missing kids is that our media format is important, that when someone's gone missing, report it to the police station. This goes on to all of our Facebook networks, everything. And it's been proven the moment that picture is out on those networks and people know we're looking, within 24 hours, the person reappears.
The power of the community coming together.
Critical.
So let's just talk about these lolly lounges. I mean, are they as prevalent as they were? I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that you're talking about having SAPs on board. You're talking about, if you are linked to government and what's happening there, surely, if you know that there are lolly lounges operating in certain areas, the police know that there are lolly lounges, and why are they still operating? Is it not a simple question?
It is not a simple question.
I find that so hard to believe.
In a community, and I see Eldorado Park as a very small community compared to other communities. In a community like Eldorado Park, we've got 50 to 70 lolly lounges operating.
Let's just, how big is Eldorado Park?
Eldorado Park is not big.
What kind of
the population is about 250,000 people.
And you've got how many lolly lounges operating?
And we've got 50 to 70 lolly lounges.
50 to 70 lolly lounges.
Yes. We also have shebeens that's advertised as shebeens, but they lolly lounges. The drugs is being sold there. Although the prostitution doesn't go on in these shebeens, drugs is being sold there. And shebeens is a very big problem because they are registered bodies. They get permission to act as shebeens in our community. So there's much a bigger rate of shebeens than lolly lounges.
And that falls under the number that you mentioned
No,
earlier?
it doesn't.
No, okay.
It doesn't. The number that I mentioned is just set up lolly lounges where they, which is
Prostitution,
yes.
and they're selling drugs.
Yes. Okay. And
So why isn't it simple?
Every member, most of the people in the community is aware of these lolly lounges. We know where they are. We know who is operating these lolly lounges. The police knows who runs these lolly lounges, where they are. That is the problem. That is where we have a problem. But I need to take you back to, this was before the awareness campaign, where everybody knew where these lolly lounges are, and the police was just not following up on these lolly lounges.
Why? Because they were in fear of their lives, or because perhaps they were being paid off, or
Niki,
why not doing anything?
I cannot speculate, but they were not. When a lolly lounge was reported to our local station, there was basically no action taken before the awareness campaign. Okay. Then I take you. I just want to take you back to the LDACs, to the local drug action committees. We just didn't leave it there. We formed a body called Community Care Foundation. Okay. And we asked that body to roll out local drug action committees in each township. Okay. They are currently busy rolling out more local drug action committees. We're currently standing at 15 local drug action committees that this body has formed. What we do is we go into a community. We don't form the LDACs. What we do is we're there to support, we're there to strengthen, and we're there to help any LDAC. What you need to do is to call a community. If you want to establish an LDAC in your community, call the community to a meeting. Tell the community that we need to start a local drug action committee. Explain to them what the local drug action committee does. Then all that you do is that you contact CDA and tell them that you would like to start a LDAC in your community, and these are the names of the representatives. It's as easy as that. Okay.
Great.
And then we will come in, we will support, strengthen, and we will give you the advice.
Fantastic. Okay. Let's go back to because maybe I think I am very naive when it comes to this. People talk about supply and demand, and they love to talk about supply and demand. As far as I'm concerned, if you get rid of drug dealers, if you don't allow drugs to come into a community, if you have a police force that supports that, if they swoop in on lolly lounges and get rid of these lolly lounges, surely there won't then be a demand. Cheryl, am I being naive here? Why? What is so complicated about that?
It would be much more easy. I mean, we went to court a couple of times, and I mean, we came face to face with many of the big guys. And yes, the prosecutor assisted us. They didn't get bail, or bail was set at high because it's their constitutional right. But the justice system seems to be taking long. Like even with the raids after the president was in Eldorado Park, we had the JOC, which was all the police scooped in from different areas.
Right.
We had the Caspers. There was raids done. Everybody was picked up and arrested and all of that kind of thing. But the system, it's a long system because the drugs needs to go into labs. They need to find out, what was there. And so we're saying the justice system is actually
letting you down.
Because most of the people is out on bail, and when they're out on bail, they can start operating. I know we have regular talks with our brigadier at the police station, and we talk about it, and it frustrates him because he knows, they went to pick up this guy. This is what happened. But there's nothing he can do once that case goes to court. The justice system then comes in and another procedure takes place. And so it continues on that basis where they go in, scoop in today, but tomorrow it just continues next door or around the corner. We had one in Extension 4 where 3 young girls, 13, 14-year-olds, they were placed actually after that. And it was the old man that was involved with them. So, he comes to the police station, he's looking for his gold chains that's missing. I'm saying, but why are you busy with these young girls? So it's basically about him laying a charge against these girls. I want to lay a charge against him. So there's just somehow we're missing the point with regards to the prosecution of the dealers. I know one guy that last week he was in court in Westbury, in Sophia Town. He was found guilty, was given diversion there. This weekend he was arrested in Eldorado Park, but that court doesn't know about what happened in Sophia Town. So he says, no, I don't have any, and then he gets another diversion this week in a different town. So there's something in the justice system that we need to look at. I know they're saying we need lab tests done. I know they're saying the quantity of substance. I know like nyope, it's dacha and it's heroin, and they need to balance out what else, because some of the products used in that is chemicals that's not illegal. So you need to look at all of that. But at the same time, while all of this is going on, young people's lives is being ruined.
Well, because you were talking about it within a month. Does it take that long for a child to then become addicted?
No.
Is it
even
much
quicker?
No, but when you were talking
Depends.
about really, so I mean within such a short period of time, a child can become addicted.
Yes.
And then
when I mention a month, that is dependence. That is the stage that a child reaches the full dependency.
when she's prepared to work and sell her body, for drugs.
Okay. But it can be much quicker than even a month, depending on the child. And like Cheryl explained, if the mother used drugs, the child might take to drugs much faster than that.
I'm interested to know with fetal alcohol syndrome what the messages are in that community. I did a show not so long ago, and it was quite interesting, taking articles and the messages that doctors are giving to young girls who are pregnant. And I'm talking about in affluent areas where they go to their gynecologist and say, can I have a drink? And the gynecologist says, well, have a glass of wine if you want. And what is moderate drinking? And I spoke to a professor who's doing incredible research. And so he's looking at all the effects that alcohol is having on these fetuses, and when these children these little babies enter this world, what a disadvantage they are at. And they're even talking about ADHD, and they're talking about all sorts of effects. And so I'm interested, Cheryl. I mean, what is the message when it comes to drinking while pregnant?
Drinking and using drugs. You can imagine what AFS is, so you can imagine
what chemicals. Drinking is something that you could do socially. Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, you could all sit around a braai and you can drink. You're not all going to sit around a braai and do drugs, unless that's the group of people.
Some of the groups that we know now, that's the in thing. They say, put the plate on the table.
Oh my goodness.
But I see a lot of mothers coming in that's breastfeeding babies, and you can see the symptoms, and the mom can't leave that baby for a few seconds, and the child starts screaming for the breast. What's that telling you? And it's difficult to wean that baby off. So as much as what the mother's doing substance, the child also needs that same high. So we've got a lot of those cases. Pregnant, you can see we've had 2 girls that was on the farm when they gave birth to their babies. You can see the facial features.
The facial features. Okay.
Alcohol fetal syndrome is very bad. We know that. I have a little girl that I have taken when she was 5 months old. She's now in grade 8 this year, and we had to put her into a learning center, homeschool center, because there is those things that's left behind, the damage caused. So I think when we're talking about substance, when we're talking about drugs, I'm talking chemicals per se in hardcore drugs, not just alcohol. It could be 10 times worse, because we don't know always what is in. If you're talking drain cleaners, if you're talking rat tax, if you're talking ARVs, if you're talking real heavy chemicals with ammonia and things like that while you're being pregnant, you can imagine the damage caused in
It goes straight into the blood system.
Absolutely. And some of the girls are fortunate. The first baby's okay. The second baby sometimes just comes out. And it's bad. Last week we took a girl, a mom away from a baby, and we had to wean the baby off, and the mother had to take the child to the clinic this week. And obviously the child needs some form of detoxing now at the moment.
How do you detox a baby?
And a lot of times kids, the mother's busy using with the toddler around, and he puts his finger in there, and lots of babies have been tested positive in that instance. So there's a lot of child welfare cases coming up as well. And mothers are going with their babies because they're breastfeeding into these lolly lounges where they smoke. Babies laying on the bed there. Mom is sitting and using, and all these men around. So there's so much dangers that goes with that. So we really have to look at it in a broader format of the danger that comes on our children and communities.
Wayne, I mean, has your life been threatened?
Yes, of course it has.
I'm just, you're married, you have kids. Yes. Cheryl, you as well. You're going into police stations, you're going into communities, you're removing children, you're saving, you're helping, but you're interfering with people's business. Yes. And I can only imagine that you're putting your life at tremendous risk. Is that something that would stop you from doing what you do? Okay, Cheryl's definitely shaking and saying no way. But Wayne, perhaps you can just share something, and then Cheryl, maybe you can tell us something.
We're all definitely being threatened. This is an industry that we're trying to bring down. This is guys, they've got families, they've got lifestyles, and we're trying to take that away from them. These are guys that don't see the damage that they're doing to the community. They don't see the hurt. They don't see the killing that they're doing to the children in the community. Their core focus is profits and what money they can make, what financial they can make out of the community. They don't care about anything else. And here you've got a group of people coming in with placards standing on the street corners saying no to drugs, no to drugs. They definitely know all of us, and they've been in contact with all of us, and they've threatened us. They threatened our lives, they threatened our children's lives, they threatened our wives' lives and our family and stuff like that. No, to answer your question, I will never stop.
Okay.
What I've basically done, and I get grief from my wife, is that the construction business is no more. And about a year ago, and
really,
I'm dedicating.
Were you ignoring it and just dedicating too much time? Okay.
I was just ignoring the work and stuff like that, and I decided, well, this is my calling. We're all being driven by a mightier power than just living and just going through life and stuff. And this is where the power is driving us. The power is telling us that you need to look after your brother, you need to look after your sister, you need to see that your community is right, you need to see that they've got food on the table, that they're living a life that you are living. So I've basically given up not given up the construction business. I've no longer paid attention to any of the construction business, and we all dedicating our lives to fighting the scourge, and we're out there in the streets every day trying to make a difference.
Come what may.
And it's definitely going to carry on. You asked earlier a question, and I don't think we've actually answered you, is my view, personal view, this is when Fearick's view, is yes, we're going to win the war on drugs. Yes, we're going to get rid of the scourge of drugs in our community. I can actually
feel it in my body as you're saying it. I feel stronger hearing that. That's fantastic.
We've got a plan, Niki. You've got communities, not just us. You've got each and every community in Gauteng at the moment standing up and saying we've had enough. We need to get rid of these people that's killing our children in the communities. And we see the leaders in those communities standing up and saying, I will fight this fight, and I will fight it until it is gone, until it is no more. And that is what's busy happening in our communities. We need more people like that. We need more people to stand up. But it is happening, and yes, we're going to...
So you feel this movement?
You feel this is a movement.
It is a movement.
And this is a movement that's that we are going to win. We've taken a commitment that we're all going to spend our lives in fighting this until it's gone. And I can tell you, we've got more strength than any drug dealer out there. We've got, because we are a team. We're all teams. We work as teams. And we support each other. And we strengthen each other. And we've got more willpower than those drug dealers out there. And we are going to get rid of them.
Cheryl, and you're just nodding your head. You're nodding your head and you're nodding your head. As I said, I mean, because in when I read the statistics and when I listen to what you're saying, and you talk about the judiciary system that's simply not supporting, when people are being arrested. We're looking at corrupt police, unfortunately. It's rife in this country. And when I hear all of that, I just see this as a scourge. It's hopeless, exactly. But when I hear you actually verbalize something and you saying it with such conviction and you saying it with such passion, I believe you. And I know you're going to do it. And I know you're going to do it.
We started already. When Wayne spoke about the Lolly Lounge, we went into one of the Lolly Lounges. We started painting. One of the dealers that was operating in that Lolly Lounge gave himself up that day. And he said, what I'm doing is wrong. Remove me now. And we taken him, and that very day there was someone from social services that was there, and I said, now you're going to act. And he arranged, and we had this guy placed in a program, and he's come back, and so we work on restorative justice. Yesterday we had a party for 500 kids. He was Father Christmas at this. And
he's turned. He's
and when
changed,
I asked
and he's seen the light.
What was it for you to be involved there? He doesn't want to stop. He's driven now to make a difference, to restore, to help, and he's looking at it from a different perspective. We have drug dealers that comes clean and that comes to us and say, when all this hyped upness it was funny. One of them knows that I know they're using, and then they're selling, and their child got involved. And he stopped me just prior to that with the jock operation. He said, you know what, I just want to tell you, I'm not selling anymore. I want you to come to my house. I want you to see what I've done in my neighborhood. I'm changing.
You're becoming the heroes in the community.
Because we're not using force. We're saying, come clean. We're here. You're part of this community. Let's restore, because really they also have families in the community. They also have children in the community. And this movement that we're starting is being run by recovering drug addicts. And
which makes
that makes the
difference.
difference. We're the support base. But they taking it and saying, we've been robbed of our lives. We want to change. We really, they passionate. You can come 8 o'clock in the morning and you can come 8 o'clock at night. You will find them available to do an intake, to do an assessment. You can call them out to a situation. They are passionate about what they are doing because they know where they come from. And so we believe that we're going to fight it, not with the authorities, maybe not
within
with power,
your community,
within our community,
empowering people to do it themselves.
Yes,
I love
coming
that.
together as a team, and I think that's what we need. And I think if we must just look at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in our country, when we thought it was never ever going to come together, that's what brought us together.
Right.
And we're looking at doing the same kind of thing in saying, let's restore, use this restorative justice system in saying, guys, come clean. Let's work together, because your child, your grandchild needs to live in this community.
I love this movement. And I love that you've come onto the show to share, because it's a passion and it's a dream. And it's not just, it's not a fight, it's a passion and a dream. And I think that's the difference here. And wow, guys, I thank you. Thank you for coming onto the show and for sharing this passion and the dream, and for the work that you're doing, and for the lives that you are saving. What a purpose, and what a vision that you've had. And I really, really do hope the communities who listen to this show will be motivated by the two of you and the others who are on this fantastic journey. So I would like to thank you, Cheryl Pillay, Wayne Fearick. Thank you so much for joining us on Conversations with Niki, and I wish you strength and great support, and may you just have every success as you get closer and closer to ending drugs, not only in your community but within South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very
Gee
much.
whiz,
Thanks, Niki.
I'm so inspired, and really to meet people who are so passionate about helping others, who put their own wants, needs, desires, what they're going to buy, what they're going to have aside for others is truly, truly, it is humbling, and I'm filled with much gratitude. Thank you. I hope you are too. I hope you have been inspired. I've so enjoyed being with you. I will be with you again next week on Conversations with Niki. Look after yourself. Be kind. Don't forget to visit the website conversationswithniki.co.za. Take care. Bye.
Hi, my name is S.V. Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Bridwin Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Conversations with Niki was brought to you by Studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets.